Hey there guys and girls, I can hear I've got a bit of a cold. I have just recovered from the mother of all colds. It's been, wow, a battle. Anyway, I've bent all my lights out of the way, whoopsie daisy. Small price to pay, ready for fuel injection. There we go. Right, so as you can see here, I have a throttle body on Talon now. Now you get this throttle body from off the Fiat Uno, the Fire IE edition. Now the Fire IE has the same engine as this, which is this is the car's original engine. It's not been changed. Still Talon's original, 999cc engine. No differences. Shed some light on it actually. Oops, not strobe. There we go. It's a bit better. So what you have to do is you have to make sure you get all of the various bits you need, such as a fuel pump of some description. This one is a 4-bar fuel pump, which is stupidly overrated for this throttle body. The throttle body only needs 10 psi. This thing's pushing, what's 60 psi? Yeah, about 60 psi this thing pushes out, up to about here. And it only needs to sit around here, just below the 20. Just literally about 10 psi is where it needs to go. And that is where that's where it stays at. So as you can see, it's a massive thing. If you do get a more powerful fuel pump than what you're supposed to have, make sure you get a fuel pressure regulator. These are about £15 off a well-known auctioning website as a buy it now. That's with free postage as well. It took about 4 days to get here, but that was including the weekend, so yeah, not too bad. Things that you need to do is obviously get an ECU and hide it somewhere. I've hidden my ECU just up here. It's just wedged behind there, if you can see that. It's just wedged behind there for the moment. I've got to strap it down. I'm going to tie wrap it, just nice and simple. It's behind the covers, so it's not going to flap around anywhere. Like I say, cold, sorry about it. Obviously you need earths and things, so I've just run a very basic earth to an earthing point down here. Some of it's for my spotlights and some of it's for the main lights, and then I've got one for the actual earth of the fuel pump. This earth isn't actually crimped yet, it's just pushed in, but it's enough to make a contact for testing purposes. As you can see, nothing's insulated at all at the moment. I've got all the insulation caps and things, but for the moment nothing's insulated. It's bad. Like, we've got wires here. This is actually my ignition live input, and for that I am using the carburettor's fuel cutoff solenoid feed, which is a plus 12 volts on ignition. When the ignition turns on, this gives a plus 12 volts power, and that just pushes into there to give me 12 volts, which activates the the pressure regulator. And it also tells the ECU, wherever it is, over there somewhere, that it's got to turn on because of the ignition system is now running. Right, what else have I got to show you guys? Yes, more on the wiring, because you guys are going to want to know this. It's simple stuff. Now the ECU on this does not control the sparking system. You use the car's original spark system. Now you'll see here, this thing looks a little different from the original one. That's because it is. This is from off a actually the system's quite the same actually as this Fiat one, or the Magneti Marelli one, in the sense of what they do is the car is a Citroen AX, the old Citroen AXs, and that is the diaphragm solenoid from off a Citroen AX. Now the only thing you have to do is drill a hole out in the middle of the two bits there to make it, although it still works. It works exactly the same, has the same movement and everything. Everything's the same length. That works perfect. So if you can find a Citroen AX, nick those off them, because they do perish over time. And that one, like I say, was off a Citroen AX. All the mounts line up perfectly. You just have to drill that one little hole out to get it to all fit good. So that's quite nice. This is actually the distributor from off the what do you call it? From off the Uno. Oh, I've got my Allen key down there. I'll wear my hand down here and grab that. That's nice. Yeah, I had a bit of problem with this bloody thing, as I always do. I hate these damn things. But I'm hoping now I will not get any more issues with these. Because I have changed the only thing that they really get a load from, and that is the ignition coil. And there's Talon's old coil. This is what the old one looks like. It's pretty much the same thing. You get 4 inputs and 1 output. It's absolutely identical to what you know, it is anyway. 2 inputs on the positive, 2 inputs on the negative. Sorry, two on the negative. It's actually trying to snow, I think. Very, very, very super fine snow. Today's date. What is? Oh, it's the 1st of December today. There you go. Today seems fitting. It's trying to snow. Right. So you've seen that. A new ignition coil is all done by connectors and things. So you have to get all the connectors from off the Uno, which is in part of the wiring loom system. Now it all runs pretty much exactly the same way. You have, you know, the same fitting on the thing as the Panda. It's exactly the same plug. It's just you have to take this bit off, and the cable there, you see there's 4 in that. Well, there's 4 in it because you've got right, we'll start from the orange cable. The orange cable is your ignition live. Now that makes the coil work. That's the main power feed to the ignition coil and the whole ignition system. The red cable is another ignition live, and that comes from here, from the orange pin. Think of how it was on the other one. Those 2 wires are connected together basically in the coil itself. So you've got alive, and earth. The 2 lives, you got, like I say, you've got the ignition one coming in from the car, from the ignition switch. You know, your key, your turn on and off key. You've got this coming out from from this plug. It comes out up the wire here and goes into the solenoid, not solenoid, the ignition module, or should I say the ignition amplifier module, whatever the hell you want to call it. The thing that makes the pointless points work. You've got 2 wires here, which are 2 earths. Now, 1 earth comes up here, and it goes to this guy. So that's what 1 earth does. Because what that would normally do is go to the points, and that earths the coil out, which gives it the time to spark. You've got the other earth here, which goes up, and that goes into the wiring loom somewhere. It ends up here on this plug. This plug, I've got to extend it all, plugs into this plug here, and that goes and tells the ECU when to fire the injector. This ECU also does support auto fuel cutoff, which I will demonstrate to you in a few seconds time, well, a minute or so's time. I've got to plug all the cables back in again. You want to hear it running, don't you guys and girls? I know you do. I know what you lot are like. Bear with me a second while I plug these in. Oops, it does help if you're not trying to plug it into the bloody fuel pump, doesn't it? That would make it go a bit funny. Sorry about all the noises, guys and girls. In fact, it's probably a good idea if I put the camera down. There we go. You can have a look at my arm. I know it's a very nice arm, isn't it? It's not like the other arm's stupid. Right, okay. Let's just plug in my amazing connection here to get my ignition live. There we go. Hope that stays secure. Make sure my earths are all plugged in. Looks pretty good. Alright, let's get this thing running. Right, so basically what I've done is I've got my my ignition live here. Now one of these feeds goes down to the ignition coil, which is the orange wire on the ignition coil. This feed here goes into the ECU and tells the ECU to turn on, you know, to come off standby mode and to go on thingy. You'll see my throttle cable is just sat, sorry, my old choke is just sat down there, not used anymore. I've got to pull all that lot out. If it's not used, I don't need it in here. What else? Yeah, let's just get it running, because I know you guys want to see that. So, keys. I'm having to use my spare set of keys because the battery's gone flat in my key fob. I bet the camera's going crazy at the moment. Right, okay, I haven't got a priming sound, so that means that my fuel pump's not priming for some reason. No, we are getting. I know why it's not priming, because we've not got the main live plugged in, which this is what this cable is here. It's a main live which I just sat onto the battery. Makes a good spark because it has got to heat up the lambda sensor as well, so there's a heater built into that. Right, we should be good to go. I'm going to cycle the ignition on and off again, just turn it off and on. You can see all the pipes jumping around because it's priming the fuel. Let's fire it up and see what it does. Oops. Well, it does help if it's not in gear, doesn't it? Now, why is that in gear? Oh, I know, I dragged the bloody thingy, didn't I? I dragged the spare wheel from out of the car because it was over there and it must have knocked the gear stick. Now, I did move the car away from the wall and I made sure I left it in neutral, as I always do. Oh well, you make these mistakes. Thankfully I've got an amazing handbrake on this car. Let's try again. No choke, nothing. This is a cold engine. Right then. So, fuel pressure is around 10 psi, probably just slightly over it actually, 11 psi maybe, 12. Whatever, it's running sweet as anything, listen to that. Obviously this pump doesn't do anything anymore, it's just doesn't do anything nowadays. As you can hear, it runs nice and quiet, there's no really any noises or anything. You can hear the injector ticking, which is normal. Alright, let me just show you this thing that I've wanted for a long time, and that is the auto fuel cutoff feature. I don't know if this camera's gonna pick it up though. I can only hope it does. Right, let's see if we can get that. Right, in there you should be able to see some fuel squirting in. I've got to get the camera in the right place. I don't know, I can't see the screen, you see. Okay, let's get the light good. Right then. No idea if you can see that, guys and girls. Jam the torque in there somehow. There you go, you see that? There's no fuel going into the engine. And then it cuts back in when it goes below a certain RPM. There you go. That, my friends, is auto fuel cutoff, and that saves you a serious amount of money, especially on a car like this. And if you drive it, you have to adjust your driving style obviously for that to work, but meaning you can't freewheel anymore. You never freewheel. What you do now is you leave it in a high gear as you slow down and go through the gears if you can do. Basically keep the engine revs quite high but don't have your foot on the accelerator, if that makes sense, while you're slowing down. And what that does then is it's always in auto fuel cutoff when you do that, meaning it's supplying zero fuel to the engine, thus using none. And obviously you imagine all the times you de-accelerate, it can save you quite a bit of fuel, quite a lot actually. So that's going to be something I'm going to be obviously doing on this from now on. As you can see where my fuel pump is, it's up here, not down near the tank. And I tell you something, this may be a Chinese fuel pump, but it does not work good. It works really well. Now I was slating this fuel pump off quite a bit because it wasn't working right. Now, I'm going to let you guys in on a little secret, and I'm going to make myself look like a fool here, but hey, what else is new? I actually have the fuel pump in back to front. Laugh, go on, laugh as much as you can. But hear me out. Now then, in my knowledge and wisdom, I thought to myself, well, what side of that is going to be the high pressure side? Here, let me turn this engine off because I've got no coolant in it at the moment. Beautiful. Now then, okay, I'm going to show you this fuel pump. What side do you think on that is the high pressure side? The plastic side or the metal side? Have a pause of the video and, you know, figure it out for yourselves. Or Google it. Actually, don't. I'll just tell you. It's actually the plastic side is the high pressure side on this fuel pump. How weird is that? You know, I really thought the high pressure side, at 4 bar worth of pressure, is going to be the metal side, you know. I really did. But no. Whatever, anyway. I guess it's just the way it is. But, yeah. So, anyway, moving on. I've got to find a place for this to live now. I'm just going to try and bolt it up here somewhere like that. You know, just strap it around with a zip tie or something. Put a hole in this plastic and just zip it through. Do the same with this thing, the pressure regulator. It's nice to have that actually showing off, so yeah, I might find a place to show it off. You know, zip tie it to the side maybe. Yeah, I don't know, we'll try. We'll do something. I've got to tighten it all up, but naturally I've got no posi-drive bloody screwdrivers here. They're all flat blades. So anyway, yeah, other things you need to do to make this conversion is you need to take the intake manifold off the Uno as well. This does involve draining all the coolant out of this car, which has currently got none in it whatsoever. So yeah, it's quite a pain in the backside. You also need to play around with the exhaust. Yes, you do. It's a pain in the backside. But you need the exhaust manifold from off either a Punto 1.2 or I think the 1.1 might work as well. Yeah, the 1.1 exhaust manifold should do. So the Sporting, the Cinquecento Sporting engine, or the Punto 55 exhaust, not the manifold, sorry, the downpipe, because you need the lambda sensor. Now you'll be looking in there, lot, and saying, oh, he ain't got a lambda sensor on this. Well, I kind of cheated actually. The lambda sensor lives underneath the car. Down on my knees. It lives. You can see I've had to modify it quite a bit to fit it in. Lambda sensor lives down there now. Now, okay, that's a bit of a bodge, but at the end of the day, it's just the way it is, I'm afraid. I'm using stainless steel bolts there for the exhaust. I had to play around with it quite a bit to fit it all together. As you can see, the clearances are a bit of an issue. And also, you do have to bend the bracket up on the gear linkage to make it all work. There's some of my old gasket on the floor down there from off the intake manifold. I did put new gaskets on. Right, electronics. I've already told you a bit about the electronics. For instance, you know, you've got your live, which is your orange wire, your ignition live, sorry, which is your orange wire, and the earth coming from the coil. Well, should I say comes from the points, that does, but it comes from the earth in the negative side of the coil. This one here is your fuel pump, big thick wire, which is a fuel pump, big brown and white stripe. That is about the only thing you have to do on this to convert it. Obviously, you do not need to change over any of the engine side of things. Just the intake manifold, the throttle body, the exhaust downpipe, and yeah, that's about it really. That's about it. Oh yeah, and don't forget to grab this thing, because this doesn't fit. You're right there. You do need to grab this, because this is a different size from the other one. But it's all good. Anyway guys and girls, that's about it. So I'll say thanks for watching, and check out my other videos if you want. Catch you all later. Peace out.